because that mic is always a little lower because I'm always a little louder, a little more aggressive. People over there, they kind of do
way more softer than probably the normal guest.
Yeah, so you might want to turn him up in that mic. I'm drinking some Voss water. I didn't know how bad Voss water tasted. Did you watch the What's the Point thing that Caleb made?
No,
It's like a bunch of uniques. Anyways, it was really cool. One of the things they had was like a water tasting not contest, but like, hey,
can you determine
like we did with coffee that time? Remember?
Yeah.
You should go back and watch that podcast. They did it with water, and I wasn't in town the day that they did it or something, and so I did it when I got back after a podcast one time, and I thought Voss was tap water. That's how bad I thought it was.
You picked it in the blind test.
In the blind test, I put it as tap water.
And Voss comes from like Icelandic icebergs,
I'm
or
not sure where this comes from.
Alps. Like pure
New York. Comes from New York.
Well, you're close.
No wonder. Hey, what's up, everybody? Jamie Barfield, Scott Slate.
Everybody.
Buds for a long time. And you're getting ready to lead a trip to Casa Shalom in Guatemala. Got 26 people-ish.
23 people headed that way.
23 people.
Annual trip. We always head down, so it's a very, very great spot. Very special place.
Casa Shalom is a orphanage in Guatemala that is a Church of God orphanage. And when you get there, you fly into Guatemala City, drive a bus for how long to get to the actual orphanage?
About an hour, 45 minutes, just with traffic and the road system and stuff.
Is that an hour and 45 minutes or an hour to 45 minutes?
Hour to maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
Gotcha. Okay. And then once you get there, you're there. You live behind the compound that is the orphanage for a week, and you interact with the kids, have some good time with them. You help, if they have projects in the orphanage, you help to fix up things. But realistically, the heart of being there is
spending
the
time
kids.
with kids, just hanging out with kids. Yeah. And there's kids from all age groups. They have everything from infants all the way up to high school kids. So you're in there, holding babies. You're in there pushing kids on the swings.
Oh, they got babies there.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Really?
Tiny one.
To what age? Babies to what age?
Up to high school kids.
Up to high school.
They also have transition now where they've over the years been able to get high school kids who, would graduate from high school and then they'd find themselves out on the street. Now have a transition home to transition.
Do you remember? Speaking of babies,
when I almost got one. Yeah.
Tell the story.
So we were in Colombia, South America, in Valledupar, and it was a hot Sunday morning.
I love
it. We were there at service.
I love this so much. Immediately as I'm talking about, I broke this off. Immediately as I'm talking about babies, I'm thinking about another baby story as well. So continue. We're in Valledupar.
Sunday morning.
Having church.
Yeah. We were handing out candy to kids, water, hanging out. All of a sudden, a woman comes up and hands me her.
And you're so kind. You just
baby.
said, let me hold the baby for you.
I have babies at home. I want to hold a baby.
You love babies.
Let me hold this baby. I'm holding this baby. Yeah. And
everybody's, how cute.
Yeah,
wonderful.
This is great.
Yeah.
And then a few minutes go by. Hey, it's time to hand the baby back. And where did mom go?
Where'd mom go? She's gone.
What am I gonna do now? I've got a baby. What am I gonna do with this? How can I get this on the plane? But it was, so I sat there and held the baby for quite a long time.
And thankfully the leadership there was like, you can't do this.
We'll find the mom for you. We'll get her back to where she belongs. But that was. Yeah, I have a picture of
it. Was wild.
Baby, but
it was a wild experience. It was a wild moment.
Yeah, because it was unexpected. At that time, that was my first missions trip, so I was not aware fully that really could happen, and it does happen. And now that I'm more aware and knowledgeable that watch out when they try to hand you a baby.
Yeah,
Be like,
it was
no, thank you.
it was a wild moment
Yeah.
because it's so beautiful, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, how sweet.
Precious.
You
little
remember that was the
thing.
day Marcus had like his pockets jammed full of candy, and they would just come and just yank candy. I mean, he
There
wanted
was
it
that
was
little boy that would keep coming up.
yeah,
And he would have it also in the
every
same
pocket,
spots.
yeah,
He had his pockets full,
yeah.
and he'd walk away. And he must have started to stash it somewhere with his mom or something, because he'd get candy from Marcus, go over, and then he'd come back a few minutes later and get some more candy.
2 times you've been mad at me on a missions trip, and one of them was over a baby. So
yeah.
we went to the dump, literal a landfill, and we bring supplies. This is in
Food
Honduras.
bags,
This is
things
in
like that,
Honduras.
yeah.
We're in Honduras. They have a landfill. There are people working in the landfill and also people who live in the landfill.
Yeah.
They have their homes. You can see
Yeah.
their homes from
Stacking
trash that they've built
Yeah.
up and live in the landfill. So we are finishing ministry there. It was a very impactful day.
Yeah.
Finishing ministry, and we're praying for everybody. We're all in this uber spiritual mood, right?
Right.
Right.
And this is also there's a little bit of danger.
A little
element
danger,
to this
a little,
place.
but all missions has a little bit of
you
danger
know,
attached to it.
Yes, but to hear yes. So yeah. So we're finishing
So
up.
we're finishing up,
Praying for everybody.
praying for everybody.
I'm the last one down the hill.
and
Make
I
sure
and I
everybody gets to
always
the
tell
van
people,
first.
I always tell people, no matter in our church, I always say, once you go into somebody else's department, they are the leader.
Mhm.
So I always say to you, I always say it to all of our teams, anytime I go on a missions trip, Scott Slate is the leader of this mission trip. I may be the pastor, but Scott Slate is the leader. So I listen to Scott Slate. Well, I got spiritual in the moment, and there's this lady. She's probably, I'll say, 60 yards away,
Yeah.
kind of up on a little mound of garbage in a little hut, holding a baby. And she comes down and asks us, or she wasn't holding the baby. She come down and asked us, says, "There's a newborn that's struggling to live. Can you come pray for it?" And so, of course, we can go pray for the newborn. And so there were 4 of us, and me, your best bud, and your wife, who speaks fluent Spanish,
Yeah.
happened to be the translator that went with us up to said house to pray for baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, beautiful moment. Newborn, I mean, this is a preemie kid. I mean, newborn, pitiful, just a pitiful situation.
Born
Heartbroken.
in a trash heap.
Born in a landfill. Literally gave birth in the landfill. Didn't even go to the hospital. Gave birth in the landfill.
Yeah.
Pitiful situation. Beautiful. We gave them all of everything we had.
Cleaned
We
out
just
your
gave everything.
yeah.
Oh, here's granola bars. Here's everything we got. Here's all of our money. Take it all.
Right. I was not it. That was not my perspective of that at the time. That's why.
So Scott was rounding up people, gets back to the van, and says,
down the
"Where is Pastor?"
I'm the last one down the hill, making sure everybody's off the landfill, everybody's out safe, going to the van, funneling
Yeah.
to the van. I'm the last one to the van. I stick my head in the van. I don't see Pastor. I don't see Tony. I don't see Marie. I said, "Hey, has anybody? Where did these 3 guys? Where did they go?" And everybody with a blank face said, "I don't know."
Just, come on,
Which
they know.
immediately,
You thought we got
to
stolen.
me, says, "Okay, what? This isn't good."
Panic sat in.
I've just lost 3 of my most precious people in my life are now, I've lost them.
Lost them. On your watch. You're the leader,
So I
and you've
said,
lost us.
All right, nobody leave the van. Brian Eubanks, big
He
guy,
sure
come
did.
with me.
He sure did.
We're gonna go find them.
He sure did.
So I put everybody in the van, grab Brian. We start walking down this path and back into the landfill. Guys are walking by. I'm trying to communicate to them who I'm looking for people. They don't want to talk to me. They keep going. I've lost some people, and all of a sudden I see you peek your head out this little hut up on top of the hill, and
We walk out weeping. We are all distraught at how beautiful this moment was, and you were not happy.
No, I was upset that you guys, nobody knew where you guys were. You guys had wandered off, and my perspective of it was you guys had wandered off away from the van. You knew better than that.
Mm.
Why did you do that? Get your tails back in the van.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
And I said, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
That was a silent ride home. From like nobody wanted to talk that
I
time.
love it.
Like
I
everybody knew that we had gotten into and nobody wanted to say anything the rest of the ride back to the hotel. It was
because they know we are like I mean we have a video. We're roommates. We have a video of you singing songs. We have stories that we're telling people all the time of all of our good times. Right. We know everybody knows that. And then
I was mad at this point.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Thank God we have that story to tell.
Yeah. And I do, my perspective was a bit off, and I do have to reel it back in because of that. But in that moment, I said, I saw three people. My three people had wandered away from the van, and I use that a lot on my trips. Like, hey, if I can get on Pastor about that, I'm gonna get on you. So you better stay in line.
The first time you ever got mad at me on a trip, we were in Fusugasuga. We were putting in drop ceiling inside of a school there. I don't know what area that was. Maybe like the cafeteria or something?
I think that's what it was going to be. Maybe a multi-purpose room. Something.
Yeah. So we were putting in drop ceiling inside of a cafeteria in a school in Fusugasuga. Now, if I paint the picture for you, if you take one of the most beautiful scenes you've ever seen, that's where we're at. Weather's beautiful.
Yeah.
The view is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful.
And we're working teamwork.
Teamwork.
Everybody's working together for a project. It is.
Not Uncle James. He's going to the store, but he's going to go work out a deal for concrete or something.
Something like that, or he's telling jokes.
He's
on the side doing something.
But everybody else working together. Teamwork.
Great moment.
Of course, you and I are teamed up together. Of course.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
That's the team.
That's the team. And so
I got put up on a ladder.
Scott is on top of we'll call it a 6-foot ladder. On top of a 6-foot ladder, having some frustrations with a piece of ceiling tile. It wouldn't go in right.
Not cooperating.
Wasn't cooperating. You were getting frustrated, and I enjoy making things awkward in moments.
Yeah.
And so
funny, he's a joker. He's
And so I just reached up and pinched the back of your legs. Gave you a cow bite.
Yeah.
And you almost kicked me in the face. Yeah, you had the angriest.
Got on me that time too. Yeah.
You had the angriest face that I've ever seen you make, and we still, even to this day, kind of.
And you still do it.
Yeah, we still do it.
You still do that.
Yeah, I still do it too, especially if you're ever up on a ladder. If you're ever up on a ladder, I want to make sure people around us get to experience it. Oh, what are you doing, man? You were so.
My foot was cocked.
You was cocked up. You were ready to kick me in the face.
Yeah. Good thing that didn't happen. Emotions. Because we were roommates on that time. That would have been another difficult.
Remember that time remember that time we stayed in a hotel? I say hotel. I forgot what I remember. It was really like dangerous, and they were like, "Do not go out after dark." Maybe Valledupar or something like that, where we stayed in a place.
That's a lot.
And I was under the AC, and you were on this side, and we had like the room was like 2 single beds with like a small little like our bags wouldn't even fit in the walkway, And then we had like a little bathroom. But we were thrilled because the bathroom had hot water because we had just left an area that didn't have hot water. This had air conditioning. We just left an area where we didn't have air conditioning. And so we were thrilled to have this hotel room. And so I was under the AC. You were on this side of the room. And I guess the way the AC was blowing, it was kind of like
I was in the
hitting
line of
you
fire,
directly
coming at me,
and not hitting me at all.
underneath it, so it was like blowing right over.
And I was like, oh my goodness, it's so hot. I kept turning it down, so hot. The next morning I woke up and you were in like 3
yeah, I'm in
you
a
were in a hoodie,
over,
covered up,
right up against the wall as far as I could go. I mean,
shivering.
Yeah, I was freezing cold.
And needless to say, that brought us a lot of joy.
Yeah, you laughed at that one too. And or even like, hey, this time can you maybe turn it up a little bit? This is what's happening. Next night was the same thing. I still froze, and it was kind of the weird because then you step outside and it's so hot outside.
Yeah. That was the place where as soon as we walked outside, we were just dripping sweat. We went down to breakfast that one morning, and all of us were already sweating like we were going to work that day.
Yeah, before you'd even leave.
Before we even left.
Hot and sweaty, and
yeah.
It was going to be a tough day.
Yeah. I've kind of stopped going on mission trips.
I know. Well, we've had some good times, but
yeah,
I miss you on the.
There's a lot of reasons, man. Family stuff. Just the busyness of ministry around here doesn't lend well to taking a week off and going to, another part of the world. But also just because I trust you completely while you're there, that you're going to handle it and do it well. And you don't really, in the early days, I felt like you needed me.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you need me anymore.
You were there. You kind of showed me, and you also were able to kind of, like, in those moments, let me lead and kind of see what kind of leader I would be on these trips. And
you're a completely different man.
That's what they say, but I don't know how that.
We call it mission trip, Scott.
Yeah. There's a little bit, little harder side of me comes out a little bit on the missions field.
Which is awesome, because you're really kind of that protector mode comes in where you're like, I got to protect these people.
Yeah. I think that's really what it comes down to, is that they've, these people are I'm in charge of them. I'm responsible for them in a way.
So first mission trip, there wasn't like a plan like, hey, I want to go on a mission trip. No. It was somebody dropped out, their trip was already paid for, and hey, Scott, are you interested in going?
And that was one of the first ones where we weren't really, like, I didn't really know a lot of people. I was still kind of new to the church and us, and so it was just kind of hey, I can't afford to go, but it was like, hey, yeah, it's okay, just come with us and try it out. And I jumped on board, and again was more of the quiet one. There was some real moments when I say that I was the quiet one then, but I'm still the quiet one of that team. A lot of you were on that there, Marcus, Brian, Uncle James was there. Had a really good solid team, and a lot of everybody a little bit more familiar with each other, but I was a little bit more of the outsider. And as you said, when they're giving out room assignments, everybody else is pairing up, and you being the strong leader said, I'll take Scott.
I'll take Scott.
Yeah.
Really what I thought.
Last man on the wall, I'll take him.
I really, I'm not saying this like in some sort of like, in some sort of braggadocious way, but I really am that, like, I will take the worst seat. I will take the worst room. I will take the worst, if everybody,
I'll take the dirt,
yeah,
got the dirty penny there.
Yeah, I will take that. Yeah. And so,
and that was good for me, because when you're, roommates with the pastor, you get the best room.
And so, so first trip, do you remember what it was about the first trip that hooked you into? You came home and you were like, I'm doing missions. This is what I do. Because here goes what I would like to do. I would like for people who watch this to not only hear about the great stories that we have, but also to be maybe encouraged in the fact of, hey, maybe there's something that um, out there that if I go or if I ever take this step that can change my life. My first missions trip changed my life forever. So what was it that captivated you?
I mean, there's so many of those impactful moments. For me on that trip, so much happened to me on that trip. An experience like that, so much happened to me. What from everything from, when you were baptizing everybody in the river, the new converts in that church plant that we were a part of. We go down to the river to you were going to baptize them, and there's all this chaos going on around us, music and food and everything, just all this stuff happening, and um, I just really felt the Holy Spirit on the banks of that river, just watching that happen, and that is something that I mean, even right now, just can feel in my soul of that time, that special moment there. There's the time we're getting ready to pray for the people who are they're graduating from the school, the seminary school, and they're getting ready to get on a boat, and they're just going to float down the Amazon
Amazon
River
River.
and just preach Jesus to these people who've never heard of Jesus before,
Yeah.
Amazonians in the jungle, and I was picked to pray for them. I'd never prayed out loud before. I was the new guy. I was, I mean, I was stricken with fear
Yeah.
at the
Frozen.
time. Yeah, and you being the great dude saw that there and stepped in and prayed for that moment. But at that time, something inside me stirred to where I had felt like I had dropped the ball there. Was given an opportunity, and I'd messed up, and I took that back to to the room with us.
Yeah.
You saw it was on my face. We talked about it. We talked about it with the team. Even like that's how I had felt, and I'd stayed up all night that night talking with God. Like I really felt like I dropped the ball. I messed up there, but if I get that opportunity, I don't want to do that. I don't want to miss that opportunity again.
Yeah.
I want to be able to stand up and be able to be a part of that. That's those special
And you have, man.
opportunities. Um, and there's been those opportunities, and being able to tell you that was my deal that I had made, and you have definitely used that plenty of times of calling me out and saying it's your time, it's your
Yeah.
turn. Um,
When people go to let's talk Casa Shalom for instance. When people go to Casa Shalom, like somebody that's never been, maybe even on a mission trip, because you got people this year that's never even been on a
yeah,
mission
a
trip.
lot of
What obviously they when they fly into a new country, it's just different.
hmm
But whenever they go into the barracks of Casa Shalom, what is it that you're? I mean, surely you're like watching their faces. You're like looking for what is it that you most commonly see from people?
um, they're a bit obviously a bit timid at first, but I think the comfort how quickly the cultures that we go to and the people that we go to see, how quickly they're just accepted in. There's a welcoming that when you're there, they come running to you. They're gonna as soon as you show up, they're gonna have kids just run up to you and give you a hug. You're
Yeah.
gonna just automatically get accepted with love and the gratitude of, hey, you've traveled all this way from your home. You've left your home to come see us
Yeah.
and to be with us. Um, and they take notice, and they don't take that lightly. They really, um, you know, is important to them that you would make that effort to come and be with them and see them. And I really like to see that part of it. I think a lot of times with our teams, we do like a debrief at the end of the day, your impactful moment. And I think a lot of that comes from the interaction with the people, like you weren't expecting to be able to communicate linguistically, being able to talk with them, but the language of love stands out between them, and to really be accepted and to be able to share that moment and love
Yeah.
with them, I think stands out, because not even in our society here is not always an opportunity to do that
Yeah.
so purely.
Yeah, man.
And that's another thing that really drew me in, was when we went to Columbia and being accepted into the communities. I mean, they really, they take you in, they take care of you, they look out for you. Um, they'll feed you. They'll literally give you the shirt off their baby, the shirt off their
Yeah.
back, just to make sure that you're okay and you're comfortable.
Do you remember, we weren't soccer fans at the time. We were in Columbia, and a game was being played. We didn't even know that, like, we didn't keep up with Columbia
No,
soccer.
no, they could have been
And
anybody. I don't even know still.
and there was a game being played, and it was like parties in the streets.
We were up all night.
Up
Could
all
not sleep.
night as people were just cheering and yelling, and this isn't. I think that was in Fusagasaga, right?
Yeah.
It was in a small community,
Village.
small village. Yeah, and it's just like
Open
so
air
much
living.
excitement.
I mean, there's no like shutting the windows and they couldn't hear them or
No,
anything
no,
like that.
it was no shutting the windows.
Like,
You remember the
you
time we
should
ate
have been out
horse,
there. Yeah,
mule? What was it?
it was. It said it was well,
They said horse, right?
horse. Yeah,
Yeah.
they called it horse steak, and
We
I don't know
thought-
why. But again, I don't know what we were thinking at the time. I don't know what logic we were dealing with. We are at a food court in an
Yeah.
outdoor mall, and we're gonna order a steak.
What were we thinking?
I don't know. We must have been so
And
hungry.
it
at
was
the time,
so hard
tough,
to eat.
and you couldn't chew it.
Oh,
You could
my
not.
Goodness, you couldn't cut it with a knife. You literally could not cut it with a knife.
Yeah,
And we were about halfway done with our meal when finally the guy, the tour guide or whatever we called him, Wayne Wozniak, came over and he's like,
Should've
you
get
know,
the
you're
hamburger.
why did y'all get that?
Yeah.
We're like,
Sounding
hungry.
Good. Yeah,
steak. Who doesn't want a steak?
right. That's what I thought. I don't know. Now I look back at it, and that was a
Probably should have got that
shame on you.
hot
move
dog or
right
something.
there.
Good times.
Yeah, it was.
Good times. You gonna take care of my son whenever he goes on his first one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Show him the ropes, teach him all the things.
Can't wait.
When he goes up on a ladder, give him a cow bite.
I don't know if I'll leave that to you, but
Totally should do that.
Yeah, we definitely need to get him in there, get him out on the mission field. I think.
So your plea to people watching about, we always talk about missions as so much more than just financially supporting or going on missions trips. Stephen Day broke our heart that time where he said, you could have sent me $10,000 and I would have rather had a phone call from you. So your plea to people watching of like what missions should look like in their life.
For me, I think missions needs to look like love. I think that there's the rest of the world. Our culture is so much different than the rest of the world, and that's what really the big experience that you take from traveling, and that there are just people literally starving for love, and to know that there's somebody out there that cares, and really to take that time and that moment to be able to get out there and to show somebody love and to actually share the love and the experiences with each other is so much more impactful, not just in their lives, but in your life. And I truly believe that if people got out there and we could work together in sharing just love with each other, it would really change the world. I think it would be a better place.
Love it. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
I love it. It's cool.
Appreciate you.
You guys are great.
Thanks for talking missions with us.
Anytime.
Thank you, those of you who are watching. Appreciate you. And make sure you go buy some coffee, support some missionaries, and golf tournaments, support some missionaries, and all the things, like posts, love posts, pray for them, things of that nature. Appreciate all you do. Love you guys. God bless. Peace out. Let's go.
Adios.